So we're now learning President Trump's threat against Iranian energy hub pushed the regime leaders to make a ceasefire deal with the United States. But the 2-week ceasefire hold will only last as long as Iran reopens the Strait of Hormuz.
Responding to reports of potential in-person talks in Pakistan coming up this Friday in 2 days, the White House press secretary said there are discussions about in-person talks, but nothing is final until announced by the president or the White House.
So will it have any bearing on the president's scheduled meeting today with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte? Let's bring in Mark Dubowitz, former advisor on Iran policy to the Biden, Trump, Obama, and Bush administrations. Mark, good morning. And I want to get to the ceasefire and how this all came about. But let me just ask you quickly about that NATO piece. This is going to be an interesting and possibly heated meeting between two friends with Rutte because NATO has not been there for us.
Yeah, a meeting between two very good friends, but I think the president is right to be very disappointed with NATO and its lack of contribution to this effort. I mean, we discovered in this war, we do have very strong allies, Israel, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Ukraine, but unfortunately most European leaders were not there for us, and we're critical, and certainly we're not contributing much.
Yeah, Mark, you advised so many presidents, President Biden, obviously President Trump, Obama, and President Bush. So what was happening behind the scenes? And when you look at that 10-point plan, where do we go? We can't agree to all of that. So what happens over the next 2 weeks? How do we come to a compromise?
Well, the fundamental difference with all those presidents is that after 15 months of having President Trump in office, Iran has never been weaker in its 47-year history. I mean, the amount of damage done to the regime under President Trump is remarkable. So he's coming in with maximum leverage and 15 very clear demands from the Iranians. I think it's very unlikely President Trump would ever agree to the ridiculous demands that the Iranians have put forward. So we're going to be looking for a deal that strips Iran of its war-making capabilities, its nuclear capabilities, and puts it in a position where it can't threaten its neighbors or the United States.
Mark, I'm curious, the president has earned a lot of goodwill from the American public and how he handles conflicts. But looking at the point plan, there's such a separation between what the United States wants and what Iran's stated goal is. They want us gone. They want Israel gone as well. Is there any case where the people that are currently running Iran agrees to some sort of proposal of long-lasting peace?
Well, there's certainly a planetary difference between the U.S. demands and the Iranian demands. But I think the regime is now facing the prospect of complete elimination. I mean, when you look at the obituary list of this regime, the number of senior commanders and leaders, including this former Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, that have been eliminated by the combined forces of the United States and Israel. This regime has got to know they have a choice, a deal with President Trump, or they are going to end up on the ash heap of history.
And Mark, so is it different this time, aside from the non-starter list of demands by Iran? We're getting these reports in Axios and elsewhere that there was communication, there was a desire on this new regime. Mojtaba Khamenei, even in hiding, was communicating. Vice President Vance was playing a role even from Hungary in talks. Is there a sign that it's different this time, that this new regime does actually want to do something that Iran has never wanted to do, which is to negotiate in actual good faith?
I doubt that they'll negotiate in good faith. I think they are committed to resistance at all costs. But if the new people that have taken the place of the men that have been eliminated over and over again want to stay alive, they've got to understand that there has to be some kind of deal. And the real question is, what are they willing to concede on? They've got to concede on their nuclear program, on their ballistic missile program, on their support for terrorism. And President Trump did not come into office and will not leave office with this regime in charge of the Strait of Hormuz, and this regime with deadly capabilities that can threaten the United States and our allies.
All right, and we'll see what happens with this meeting with NATO today. Will we pull out of NATO? Thank you so much, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.